gospel of Jesus Christ and letting the Spirit bring them into confrontation with Jesus to see that their life, their way, has brought bankruptcy, chaos, and would cry out and help. See, I'm just changing them to switch over from one bondage to another bondage. Let's say a drug addict, you know, and I said drugs is messing your life up. So I'm not careful, I'm just going to shift them off of the bondage of drugs onto the bondage of religion, because Jesus is not really becoming the source. So they came seeking for Jesus. And then they finally found him. They said, in essence, how did you get over here? There's not a doubt in my mind that they were not expecting another miracle story, which would have been a miracle story if he told them how he got over there.
That's right.
He didn't do that, see? What he said was...
So he didn't appeal to that part of them that wanted another miracle. Okay,
yeah.
I mean, that's the issue.
That's the issue.
He did not respond to that part. Okay.
And as you go through the story, you're going to see that issue come out. And he says, you don't seek me because of the miracles. Now, he says that to a group of people who's following him because of the miracles. The Bible says that itself. Follow him because they saw the miracles which he did on the disciples.
Right.
Witnessed a miracle, participated in the miracle, knew that he had to get over there some way, and yet Jesus says, you don't seek me because of the miracles. Now, that's a little mystery, you see, a little mysterious, but it really not when you come to recognize, yes, they wanted the miracles, but greater than the miracles, they wanted what the miracles would do for them.
Right.
See, that's the reason.
They wanted personal benefit.
Yes, that's the reason why they were seeking him. For what Jesus could do for them, which in the parable of the sower received with joy. What he can do for me. See, what he can do for me. Enhance my life. And he said, you don't seek me because of miracles, you seek me because of the loaves and fishes, that you might be filled. What he's actually saying is, your basic needs, your inner needs, your basic desires, what you are on the inside is wanting to be enhanced, wanting to be uplifted, and therefore you're going to use me to do that. See, so we readily receive Jesus to enhance our life. And then they come back and say, well, he says, labor not for that which perishes, but for the meat that doesn't perish. See, that's what he's saying. You get out of the fleshly realm altogether. Get out of the temporal realm altogether and labor for that which doesn't perish, which is Jesus, which is the spiritual realm. And then they said, well, because he's talking about labor, they come back and said, well, how might we do the work of God? And one translation even says, how might we do the work of God that is required of us?
Yep. Yes.
See, and then Jesus comes back and gives them the answer, but the box up here
couldn't receive it.
Couldn't receive it, because he says, this is the work of God, that you believe on him whom he sent. See, that's the statement of the gospel. I want to believe, you want to believe. But Jesus is saying, this is the work of God. The work of God does that. This is the work of God. This is the work of God, that you believe on him who he sent.
Now, you see, now I just messed that one up, too.
Well, I messed them up, too.
No, but, you know, it's interesting because, man, I've always seen that when I read that verse, when I've been reading it, I've taken that as saying, you know, my job, my work is to believe.
Yes.
But that's interesting.
But
the twist on that.
Yeah, and the reason why you said that, and I said that for years too, but the reason why you said that is because that was what being fed us.
Well, that's exactly. Well, sure. And out of the context, we do the same thing that crowd did. I mean, I'm doing the same thing that the people were doing.
Oh yeah, and if you go on to see what this says, it's right back to where we start again, because he said, this is the work of God, that you believe on him that he has sent. And then they said, show us a miracle that we might believe. See, show us a miracle that we might believe on you.
Yes.
See, that's what we've been talking about. Give me something tangible up here in the head that I can believe that you are he. See, and they missed it again. But listen to how they said. They said, Well, show us a miracle that we might believe. Then that would be belief coming out of them.
Right.
See, belief coming out of them.
So that we can believe, yes.
Which we've talked about earlier.
That's right.
Which means Jesus says, I can't commit to that. Because he knows that we don't have the capability to do that. Which we've said a lot of times. We just know what we were saying when we were saying it. You know, the miracles are there, we believe. The miracles stop,
we don't believe. You
lose the people. See?
My goodness.
And the reality is that it's in our observing. And he said, well, show us a miracle. Our fathers received manna in the wilderness.
Yeah.
See, our father received manna. That's what they're saying. We know that God was working because God gave them manna in the wilderness. He performed a miracle. And Jesus comes back and says, Father didn't give you the bread in the wilderness. I am the true bread. See, I am the true bread. Listen to what he says. I am the true bread. If you come to me, you will never hunger. You believe on me, you will never thirst. Because of our friendship, let me impose on you again. Have you ever, after you become a Christian, have you ever hungered and thirsted for a move of God?
Oh man, have I ever. I mean, are you kidding? I mean, how about this morning?
Yes, I mean, all of us. See, and we even think that's a positive statement. I'm hungering and thirsting for a move of God. That's not a positive statement. That's a negative statement, because Jesus said, you come to me, you don't hunger, you don't thirst.
It means I'm not partaking.
Yeah, it means you're eating the wrong stuff.
How did he know? How did he know? Hey!
Because I eat the wrong stuff and drink the wrong stuff. He said the same thing to the woman at the well.
I know he did.
He said, you drank of this water here, you're going to thirst again.
That's right. Drink of me and you won't.
You won't. Which means what? Every time we get to thirsting and we're drinking the wrong well. We're drinking the wrong well. See, and it means Jesus is not a source of our life. They come back and said, well, give us this bread then. They're missing it again. Because he said, if you eat this bread, you'll never hunger. Well, give us this bread.
Yeah, show us what it is. Yeah,
see,
it's another program. I mean, it's another something.
It's another something. They want the bread again instead of Jesus. Now, we're still talking about the sower on stony ground. See, it springs up quickly. Springs up quickly. Well, the story goes on, and he says, I'm the bread which came from heaven. Example again, I'm the bread which comes from heaven. I'm the bread of life which comes from heaven.
Yes.
They said, we know who you are. See, we know your parents.
Yeah.
See the mind? The mind kicked in?
Yeah.
And they could not hear what Jesus was saying in the heart, because this head kicked in and said, we know who you are. Well, Peter, James, and John, the rest of the disciples, they didn't have the foggiest idea either what Jesus was saying. They didn't understand it either. But something didn't kick in here to cause the rejection of it.
No.
See, that's where the revelation is always coming. It's always there. We kick in to reject it. But see, we don't know how we reject it. But the Pharisees reject it because they said, we know who you are.
Yeah.
The disciples didn't reject it.
No, they didn't reject it.
Even though they didn't understand it.
They did not understand, but they did not reject it in that situation.
Exactly right. Because they said, you know, they constantly came back and said, well, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? But they kept hearing. See, they kept hearing. Well, he goes on to say, powerful passage of Scripture, powerful truth. So he says, I'm the bread of life. If you eat my flesh and drink my blood. Now, that sounds a little gory. You know, is he talking about cannibalism? See, remember what disciples came, when Jesus came to the disciples and he said, whom do men say that I am? And they said, well, some say you're John the Baptist, Jeremiah, Elias. But he said, but who do you say? Mm-hmm. And Peter says, thou art the Christ. Yes. He comes back and says, flesh and blood have not revealed this unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. He's saying here, eat my flesh, drink my blood. See, he's giving us that two-sided coin. See, that he is life, but he's also the way to that life. See, that's what blood represents, the life. Flesh is represent how we attempt to try to get there. And so he says, you consume me. I am both the end and the means. We, as God opened up to you in Psalms, light and salvation, we know he's the end, we know he's the salvation, but how we're attempting to get there, we're struggling to comprehend.
That's right.
See,
he's a light.
He's the light.
That's right.
He's the means to get there.
Yeah.
Just let the word set in our heart. Well, he keeps on going on down, and he talks about, he says, as the living Father has sent me, and I live by the Father. What a statement. Here's the Son of God, totally man, who had the capability of being totally God to do what needed to be done for the Father. But he doesn't do it in his own power.
Exactly.
He said, the works that I do, it is not me that does them, it's the Father in me that does them. In fact, in John 5, he said, if I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true. Because it violates the very essence of what the Trinity is and violates the very essence of what Christianity is. If I bear witness of myself, yeah, I'm talking about James now, if James bears witness of himself, his witness is not true. See, it's the preaching of ourself, that Paul says, I'm not going to preach ourself, I'm going to preach Christ.
Exactly.
And so he comes on down, he says, as the living Father has sent me, I live by the Father. But then he says, so ye will live by me. He becomes the flesh, the blood, he becomes the everything. And then he says, eat me. And then the disciples. And the only way I know how to interpret disciples being a follower, a learner. And then the disciples said, this is a hard saying, who can hear it?
Yeah.
The same ones
who gladly received.
Gladly received the first. In fact, I think probably the implication may very well be when the multitude were following because of the miracles they saw which he did on the disease, it's probably some of those who received the miracles. The implication is. But whether it is or not, it doesn't destroy the story. But this is a hard saying, who can hear it? And then it goes down a little bit further, and they say, they turned and walked no more.
With him? No, I know. A major group. It seems that a large group.
A large group. Not just Judas, a large group.
A large group turned away from Jesus.
And the reason why they turned away is where we're struggling. When we think Jesus can enhance our life, see, by living in the blessings that he does. Now, by and large, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but by and large, in Christianity today, most Christians are trying to live in the blessings they're receiving. It's not even a question whether God is doing it or not. No. It's just to make an assumption that it is God doing it.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to live in what God does, you're going to die.
Yeah.
As Jesus said, your fathers ate manna in the wilderness, and they are dead. But if you eat me, you shall live. Yeah. So not to live in the miracle, but to live in the one who produces the miracle.
He isn't coming back and saying, I blew it when I did the miracles. I blew it when I produced the bread. He isn't saying that.
No.
It's just that you didn't see where I wanted to take you.
Yes.
And I don't want you to be critical, folks, of those that are, God's doing miracles among us.
Yes.
God's revealing himself like the tragedy is if that's as far as you go, if you allow that to be the only thing that impacts you, it won't hold you.
Yes.
It's not going to keep you. Yes. It will not satisfy your deepest longings. All it'll do is satisfy again or meet the needs of the temporal. But the spirit needs are met by feeding in Jesus.
Yes. Only way.
Only way.
Eat Jesus.
Feed on him. Drink of him.
Yes.
Thanks. This